Hi, welcome to my Be the Expert presentation. My name is Ash T, and I will be walking you through what I've learned on embodied pedagogy in my Foundations of LDT course. So, I have a background in social work and public health where I've learned how to take concepts and theories in mental and behavioral health and apply them in organizational policies and practices. And so I bring that background into the discipline of biology education research, where I explore evidence based effective teaching practices. And so in my research, what I do is I take my background in mental health and I bring it together with my training in biology education research. And I'm actually studying how we can create learning environments that are more promoting of social and emotional and mental wellness. And so, specifically, my research looks into how we can increase students' comfortability and ability and emotional expression or emotional intelligence in life sciences education. So, I engage in exploratory qualitative research that looks into those attitudes and beliefs around emotional expression in science classrooms in order to eventually develop practices, evidence-based effective practices where we can promote the development of those emotional intelligence skills through things like pedagogy, curriculum design, and so forth. So, why did I choose embodied pedagogy? Well, one aspect of my research looks into Albert Bandura's social learning theory, which talks about how people learn through watching and imitating behavior that they see from others. And so, embodied pedagogy is a teaching method where there is that actual modeling of the desired behavior of emotional identification, expression, and recognition and application to knowledge. Another aspect of my research also is grounded in Isaac Eisen's theory of planned behavior, which one aspect of that concept or theory is this idea of subjective norms, where people choose the behaviors to engage in based on what other people think about those behaviors. So, kind of the social norms around that behaviors. And so, embodied pedagogy is a teaching practice that normalizes emotional expression, identification, and application in the classroom. And so I believed that this teaching approach, embodied pedagogy, aligns perfectly with my research interests in increasing emotional intelligence skill development through pedagogy and curriculum design. So, here I will briefly go over what embodied pedagogy is. And so, some of the key aspects of embodied pedagogy is, well, embodiment and pedagogy. And so, embodiment is this philosophical idea that our bodies are wholly interconnected with our minds. And so, the way that we think, the way that we feel, the way that we act, all of that contributes to learning through those physical bodily experiences and sensations. That what we feel in relation to what we are experiencing impacts how we interpret things, how we make meaning, how we grow, how we learn. And so then you couple that with pedagogy, which is the art and science behind teaching. It is those decisions around methods, activities, and assessments related to learning that instructors implement in order to help students connect to and make meaning with the subject matter that is being studied. And so you put all of that together, and it's essentially this process of guiding students to bring attention to what they are feeling, what they are sensing, what they are, interpreting, and putting that all together with the knowledge that they are understanding or comprehending the meaning they are making with the subject matter being studied. And so through these practices, what students will essentially be doing is they are, bringing attention and focus to, okay, what am I feeling in relation to these activities or this content, this discussion, and trying to think, okay, why am I feeling in these ways? And then actually having discussions and talking about expressing what they're feeling and why, and then being able to make those connections with what they're feeling and what they're learning, that all comes together into this experience of meaning making and learning. And so these are things that can be done individually through individual activities, It can also be done as a group. And so when thinking about those activities, these can be physical, they can be verbal, they can be written, they can be creative, like using art, music, what have you. But essentially what you're doing is you're helping students engage in that physical awareness, and then they're reflecting. So not only am I becoming aware of what I'm feeling and why, I'm reflecting on it through these activities, and then also engaging in mindful action. So I'm thinking, I'm feeling, and I'm doing in connection with the subject matter being studied in relation to my body, what I'm feeling, what others are feeling, and we're all doing this together. And so, to kind of break down this idea of embodied pedagogy, let's look at some of the foundational theories that are all interrelated and interconnected within this art, this science, this practice of teaching. And so, first and foremost, embodied knowing, it's this belief that we come to learn, we come to build knowledge and understanding through the use of our body. Our body is our source of meaning making, of constructing knowledge. We are learning by being and doing, not just doing. And then with embodied cognition, takes this a bit further in that bringing in that thoughts, that mental, that learning process of, okay, I'm thinking, I'm feeling through my body, I'm perceiving, I am reasoning, I am problem solving, I'm doing all of these things within my environment in order to produce some sort of action. And so it's very situation based, because whatever situation we are in is what is also having an impact in how we're feeling, also having an impact on what we're thinking, and all of that together is creating this knowledge base. And then constructivism then furthers all of this in that we are building our knowledge based on our personal experiences, and then also how we're interpreting those experiences, and then also how our collaboration, our interaction with others also impacts that construction of knowledge. So we're feeling, we're thinking, we're interacting with the environment, we're making actions and decisions based on all of this resources and information that we're taking in order to create an action while engaging with other people. And then I love bringing in this idea of, or well, the theory of critical consciousness, which isn't, as I looked through my readings, there's only one reading that actually brought up like embodied critical consciousness. And so that made me dive in a little bit further, and I felt like it should be added. But it's basically this process of bringing awareness to like status quo, mainstream social conditions and processes and practices that are actually oppressive and enable and perpetrate social inequalities. And so, what we're doing is we are engaging in like active, intentional reflection and action in bringing recognition to the fact that these oppressions and inequalities exist, and then doing something about it. And so, in relation to embodied pedagogy, it is pretty non traditional to think about including the body with learning, with cognition. That's not very traditional Western thinking. And so, in this process of engaging in emotional expression and emotional identification and emotional dialogue in relation to learning and content, we are actually also encouraging kind of that breaking down of power and privilege and oppression around who gets to feel, who gets to express those feelings, and just how we engage all of that emotional and sensational and bodily experiences in the classroom. And so it is an act of social justice in and of itself. Regarding implications for instructional designers, there were three things that came to mind. First and foremost, if you are designing or researching for instruction related to social emotional learning, I believe that embodied pedagogy would be a great approach to implement when designing or researching these learning experiences or environments where social emotional learning is already a part of what is being asked of you to create. And then also when thinking about learning technologies, It would be really cool if we had instructional designers who are taking embodied pedagogy and going, okay, how can I create an curriculum, an embodied learning experience with the use of technology, or implementing that embodied pedagogy philosophy and practices within the technologies that are developed and used in learning environments. And then lastly, when thinking about professional development, adult lifelong learning, when we are training workers, when we are building that professional development, how can you use embodied pedagogy to help bring together that meaning making through bodily experiences within that situated learning? Thank you for your time and interest in my topic on embodied pedagogy. I hope that you found it informational and inspiring. I surely had in the process of learning more about it. And please be sure to check out our lab website to learn more about corpus education and biology education research.